At the end of the day, I just had that grit. And I am so grateful for what I now call the gifts that just happened to look as challenges in my life. They were just gifts I hadn't opened yet.
Welcome to the Shine Strategy Podcast, where entrepreneurs, visionaries, and business owners are getting visible and changing the world. I'm your host, Heather Burgett, an award-winning publicist, entrepreneur, and business mentor. Today's show is sponsored by PR Stars. For more inspiration and Shine strategies, head over to shineinsiders.com now for my free masterclass so that you too can get visible and go from local to global. Hey, Shine Insiders! Are you tired of being the best kept secret in your industry? Well, I have a solution for you, and it's called free publicity, and we can actually get it for you fast. Go ahead on over to podcast.theshinestrategy.com. Over there, you're going to find my free pitch template, and that's going to help you get into major newspapers so that you can stop struggling to find your clients. Let them find you. We also have all of our show notes over there. You'll also see how to join my community and my upcoming free masterclass. So again, that's podcast.theshinestrategy.com. All right, everyone, let's dig in. Hello, Shine Insiders. I am so happy to have you here with us today to meet someone who is just such a special person in my life. You're going to love this conversation with her. We have Holly Dowling today. She is a dynamic global keynote speaker and inspirational thought leader with more than 20 years experience. She has designed and delivered customized keynotes and programs for Fortune 500 companies for many years. She's a master facilitator. She's got a disarmingly joyful and indomitable spirit. You're going to hear it in just a moment here. And she's so passionate about the privilege of leading others and lives by the mantra, live life with passion. And she has worked with some of the biggest, you guys. We're talking United Nations Foundation, Facebook, IBM, Gap, Wells Fargo, Microsoft, Hilton, Disney, ESPN, Mercedes, the list goes on. And her unique approach has led managers to become stronger leaders, individual contributors to achieve higher levels of performance, and for companies to discover new opportunities for success. She is a proud partner of the UN Foundation, where she serves as an ambassador for Girl Up and promotes equality, innovation, and entrepreneurship for women worldwide. And in recognition of her work, she's the proud recipient of 2 2016 Stevie Awards for Women in Business and the 2016 American Riviera Women Entrepreneur of the Year Award. So with all that being said, thank you for being with us today, Holly.
Wow, Heather. I think that was like a mouthful. I'm like, I listened to that and I'm like, really? I forget what I do. We just keep moving forward, right?
Well, and we didn't even mention your podcast. So you have a celebration of you. I mean, the list goes on and on. Like really, we could do the whole show just on all of the things that, amazing things that you're doing in the world. But I will say, this might sound corny, but you are one of my proudest moments, just to let everyone know that we have worked together. And you were in one of my private PR coaching programs. And we met through I think it was one of those things where you saw me online and it was just the right timing and it all just lined up so perfectly. And I find so often with people that when they're ready and the stars align, it's just literally nudging in a few little different directions and then everything hits. And for you, I feel like that's exactly what happened. So can we talk a little bit about let's just start with the PR journey, because I just want people to know the power of not only being in that position and ready and wanting it, but then doing the work. Like you really, like you and your team, like you stepped in, you stepped up, and you had some amazing accomplishments. So if we could go back to the time when we first met. Now you were thinking about talking about a very personal story for the first time. You'd been in some podcasts and out there in articles and things, but not a lot of mainstream press. And where were you at that time? And let's talk a little bit about the journey.
Well, yeah. And it's so interesting because you said something, Heather, that I don't want anybody to miss. My entire life has been about, even when I was a little girl, not even understanding the dynamics of the universe and the laws that between science and spirituality, right? I didn't know any of this, but I truly believe in serendipity and I understand the power of divine, right? And when you're open and ready and you truly understand when your soul is ready for what's next and you really follow and listen, all the right people come into your life and all in the right timing. So like that's really important because I don't really remember. I did not find you online. I randomly ended up getting an email from you. And the reason that was so important was I didn't know who you were, but I got an email and it was the slogan, something about 1111. And that's a really important number to me. And I just remember that within a week of me seeing that, Heather, my team, we had just had a chat because I said, and I want people to know this, like I'm really, really blessed because my business is incredibly, like I'm booked 2 years out. I have no speakers bureau, no agent, no representation. And people are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I truly believe it's because of doing what I've been put here called to do, which is I'm a messenger. And I'm very honored to say I have clients. It's all referral. Love it. What I've never done, and it was time, like a week before that, Heather, and I don't even know if you know this, like within 7 days, I had just said, for some reason, I'm feeling like going into this year, we need to focus on publicity and PR. And they're like, but you don't need it. You have a thriving business. I'm like, it's not about needing it. It's about let's go and share this message with people that wouldn't even know that we exist. Because it's not about needing more speaking business for me. It was about getting more people around the world to know who we are and what we're doing. And Heather, that email came and it was just, I get goosebumps even thinking about it. I'm like, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? Who is this? And then I emailed you. I remember replying and I'm like, I can't even tell you the timing of this. And it was right around the beginning of, it was towards the end of the year before. And I said, I really want to make this a commitment going into the next year. Do you remember that? Like this kicked off in the beginning of that year, like January. And so I have to give huge kudos to my team too, because although this was private coaching with you, you were really, really wonderful in helping guide. I mean, I consider everything I do, it's our team together. And you were awesome at helping, let Carrie listen to the recordings, let Tony, see the ideas we're talking about for the website. And it was just like a team effort. And it started like, it was just one baby step at a time. And before you knew it, and we still to this day, I'm like, I think in the last year and a half, 2 years, I have never had so much publicity, so many amazing articles. I'm now being recognized as one of the top 10 Shiros of the year, and they're giving me some huge award in Vegas.
I love this. Oh my gosh. I'm getting the goosebumps. Woo!
Wait, good. Amazing. You should be getting the goosebumps. You're like, And so, yeah, I mean, I could go on. We had part of that is, and I want everybody to know that I am convinced that it is truly an art and a science to what you truly do. What I learned through working with you and my team is there's a true art and a science, and you can try to wing this and do it on your own, or you can expedite the process and work with a pro like you. And the other piece I want people to know, Heather, is hiring a PR agent. And my brother's a very well-known actor, and he has a PR agent. It costs a fortune. And, sometimes they just do it a per month basis based on everything going on. And so to get your expertise of what you've done for 20 plus years and then be able to have that one-on-one. And I mean, you could tell. Did you want to do the whole show about you? We could do that.
Let's talk about, I mean, really, like it was such a cool collaboration working together. And, I'm so grateful to hear all this amazing feedback because, you really got it. You understood the value of it. You jumped in, you went in all in with your team. And I think just giving a couple of the examples will help people understand that by the end of our 6 months, you were being regularly quoted in Fast Company magazine. And you now are I hope you're still very close. You kind of became best buds with this one journalist, I think, right?
Yes. Yep. Still are.
And that was, I always talk about my gateway drug into PR being Help a Reporter Out, otherwise often called HARO, HARO. And that was, I think, an opportunity. You guys, your team was monitoring the HARO queries and you found this journalist. And the next thing you know, you're in Fast Company, not just once, but multiple times and in your industry trade magazines and just really getting out there in an amazing way. And a lot of it, a lot of the things we did also was like some streamlining of the positioning and the branding and really making sure that your amazing spirit came through on your website and your collateral and your materials and your bio. And you guys just all did such an incredible job. So, I mean, it's all you. Kudos to you guys. It was really just me kind of pushing in some different directions or nudging in some different directions. But I by no means want to claim credit for all of those things because it's really, at the end of the day, it's you. You were aligned, you were poised, you were ready, you were committed, and you went all in. And so you're just such a shining example. Like, I love just talking about your journey and the experience you had, because really it's like the best case scenario and you're living proof that this stuff does work.
And it does. And you know what? Thank you, because I love knowing. I've always said anything I can do to support you and let the world know, because I do believe that it's a beautiful marriage of having your expertise and then being able to leverage that when it was the right time. And I think I said to you, had I done this 3 years ago, I don't know that I would have truly, it was time. And it was just unbelievable, the divine timing of how it worked. And, another thing, and you just brought up some of these journalists, one of the greatest things that I think has really empowered the ongoing relationships, I've now been written up in Meeting Planners magazine a couple times with huge, I don't know if you saw the last one. Oh my gosh, we might as well have just gotten the cover of the Finance and Insurance magazine. They did a huge thing and had these amazing photos where they got them. We have no idea. The point of it, though, is the journalist that reached out said, you did an article with a colleague of mine for another one of our series. I heard raving reports, and I'd love to interview you for an upcoming. And it took 6 months. Those articles don't come out right away.
Right.
But the fact is, it's kind of like, Heather, what you and I do, having a show and having guests. If you show up and you're willing and able and ready to just talk and share and make their life easier, it's a win-win. And that relationship just keeps going. I mean, to keep getting asked because somebody had a great experience working with you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's so much of it is the relationship building. So we often talk a lot about that, a lot of times people look at press as like this sort of abstract thing. I'm like, no, these are people. They're just like me and you. And, they put on their pants the same way. It's just about it's just like any other networking situation where you get to know the person and you find out what makes them tick and what do they like to write about. And you're obviously such a great people person. So I never had any doubt that you would be able to build those relationships very quickly. And you did. And I'm so happy to just hear like all these articles keep coming out. You're just rocking and rolling with it. And I want to ask you a little bit about the personal side of it, like in terms of the story. When we first connected, you were on the fence of, or feeling ready, like it might be time to share a personal Me Too story. And you did that. And we were actually, even before we just started recording, talking about that, like, when we do illuminate our past and our story, how much that can shift things. Can you speak to that a little bit and how that affected you with sharing your story?
Yeah, because I actually shared it prior to meeting you I want people to know dates, because it's important that story was something I had shared because of a very coincidental opportunity that I was going to be speaking at an event in Connecticut, being asked to be a woman on an extraordinary conversations with extraordinary women. And they said, I don't know if you know this other person, but you're going to be being on a panel with you and Gretchen Carlson. And the crazy reason that's so important is that was the person 28 years before that was the only person that knew. We were really good friends, and she knew about a situation I was going through. She's actually the person that called me out. And so the fact that when I decided to do that story and the editor that asked and how it all happened, it happened so fast because I got scared. I called my brother and I said, I'm not ready to do this. And he said, no, you have to. And it's time for the world. You can help others. So then that happened. And then the timing of it was released. And then I'm on stage with Gretchen and I get to hold her hand and tell her this is such a big deal that we're together after these many years. Then I come into working with you, and that story was just sitting there. So I want people to know that, yes, I did it. And it was a big thing for me to have to overcome this fear of talking about, and I'll tell you why. And I want everybody to know this. there's a part of us that when we have our dark past, it's easy to keep it in the closet because of shame. And I didn't want my buyers, I have buyers all over the world and a very successful speaking business I'm proud of. And I didn't want them to think of me, Heather, as damaged goods. So that was a big reason I was afraid to do it. So then I do it. Then I come in 8 months later with you, and you're like, you shared this story and you've done nothing with it. Do you know how many people? You started giving me that lecture that you do when you're coaching. Do you know how many people need to hear this story? And do you know what? And then we got on this rampage because then Me Too had just, this whole thing was catapulting. And I'm like, but I don't want to be playing that victim, right? I don't want to be that person because I think there's like a lot of men out there that just aren't bad people. And I know a lot of good men. So I don't want to be in that place. Not all men are monsters. And you screamed. I'll never forget that day. You go, that's it. You're going to do a whole thing on not all men are monsters. Do you remember?
We did. Hashtag.
Yes. And it's huge because that is why I'm getting goosies right now. Because yes, I had, shared this story, but it just kind of was hovering out there. And a lot of people, reached out and but then I just kind of let it sit. And then you and I took it to another whole level, and not all men are monsters. And you really helped me just launch this campaign that ended up having a really viral effect. And it was amazing how many men and women, right? We're like, thank you for doing this. Because I feel like right now, all we're doing is slamming all the men out there. So I just want you to know that you may not even remember how monumental that was, but that was huge.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, really revisiting that story and making it so public, incorporating it into your PR and your media efforts. That was a big deal. And I loved that we, were able to, through working together, figure out okay, what's the angle here? What's the movement? Because, you have something that you can put out into the world, your story, your gifts that you can do only in the way that you do it. And when you do that, that's how you can help the people you're meant to help and serve and collaborate and connect with in this lifetime. So it was so powerful. And I'm getting tingles too, because I'm it was such an amazing moment. And I remember, yes, that that was something that was starting to, catch on. And, I remember you sending me different audio files and links and and comments, and people were really responding to it. So a lot of times it's kind of just figuring out, okay, what is my mission? What am I taking a stand for? What is my movement in the world? And so much of that is what we work on. And I know that you're also starting a new program called Let Your Light Shine. And I'm we're such soul sisters. We always have so much in alignment and in common. So can you tell us a little bit about that, what that's going to be about?
Well, and you're going to love the story of how this is manifested. And honestly, Let Your Light Shine is the name of my book, The Hollyisms, right? That, I've had out for maybe 4 years. And it's just like you, Heather. That's why when the first time we talked, I'm of course I have to work with you. You're all about helping people let their light shine. I mean, it's just the connection. And I will tell you that, so I'm saying this with the utmost gratitude. I hit an all-time exhaustion this year. And it's just, I look up as I'm saying this because I'm so grateful for amazing business, amazing clients, and booked out so far. But what Holly, realized, I was literally I don't know about you guys, but when God needs to get my sign, I don't get him in Post-it notes. I get him in billboards. And
frying pans over the head.
Yeah, a burning bush. Yeah. I mean, nothing's little with me. But I hit a health exhaustion in June, and doctor's orders, I had to take some time. And I honestly tell everybody this, that I love what I do. And even though I love what I do and I can do it all day long, I wasn't taking time to refuel Holly, because it's really important to me to be a messenger. So it's the spiritual, the physical, the mental, and the emotional. So I was jumping from city to city, stage to stage, all over. And part of this is the reason I'm telling you this was the big nudge. So for years, people will, Heather, and I love this. People are so beautiful. They'll stand in line after they hear me speak or whatever it is, and they'll reach out and just say, I would love to do what you do. I have a message. I'd love to be a speaker like you. Do you ever offer coaching around this? And over the years, I've always just said, no. I mean, I've never gotten around to doing it. Let's just put it that way. I'm going to be honest. I've never actually stepped up and said, oh, I could help you. I used to just get on calls for free with people and go, here's some tips. During this time of renewal, and kind of recharge. It was a divine thing that came through me. I'm like, it's time. I don't always have to be on stages. And how can I continue to help people feel hope, inspired, and help them take their messages for all those people out there that reach out and help them do what I did? Because I got to tell you, I've done it. I didn't realize this, Heather, but I've done it completely the non-traditional way. So just for everybody listening, yes, I'm booked out already to 2022. I am not a best-selling author. Isn't that cool and sexy? I have no speakers bureau, no agent, no representation, even sexier, and all my business is referral. And the reason that's so important is I don't know anybody else. I sit in the green room with all kinds of big headline speakers and they're shocked because they always want to know who you're represented by. You're amazing. I've never seen anybody do what you do. And I go, I don't. And then it was like, why not take the secret sauce of what I have done by breaking all the rules and doing it and helping others bring their message to light and on stage, but not just on stage, Heather, because I think it's so much more than that. It's how are we showing up to the world? You'll never see me do a canned keynote. I do have favorite topics, but they're not out of a box. It's about working with a client and finding out who are those people that are going to be sitting there and what do they really need to hear. I am literally starting this as we speak and getting ready to launch it in October. And we have a huge list of clients. Heather, I have so many customers waiting. They're actually pinging us on Instagram going, when are you starting your thing? I want to know how to work with you.
I love it. Oh my gosh. It's time. Well, I can only imagine that when people, even people listening right now, like your energy is infectious. You are filled with so much light and joy. And just to hear how things have unfolded for you, everybody, if you could bottle that up, like, why not? So that's so exciting that you're going to make some of these, your secret sauce available to more people. And so what do you think, like with the, we both love the shine aspect. What do you think one of the biggest pieces is for people? And, can you share a little bit more about your philosophy behind that?
Oh, I love that you just asked me that question because of course, shine for you and I and joy. I choose joy. It's very important. And part of that is the secret sauce in helping people shine is to know what to say yes to and to know when to say no. I say no to a lot of clients that are toxic, people that aren't aligned with what my passion is. So a lot of speakers are afraid to say no because they need the next gig. I've never had a fear of saying no because if you're really going to help bring your message to the world, and I want everyone listening to truly hear this, the first thing we're going to do is really figure out what is your message and not convoluted and all over the place. And I'll be honest, everybody says that they want to go on stage and help inspire people, but you have got to know what your niche is and what your lane is. And once you get that, then it's so easy for me, Heather. I just coached somebody and I was sitting in the audience and taking notes. I can watch somebody. It doesn't matter how successful you are. And even for C-suite leaders, and leaders, people leading people, they're not necessarily having a book or trying to be on stages all over the world. They just need to know how to better communicate a message. What it needs to happen to really shine, let go of scripts. Let go of all of this stuff that makes your brain go into a non-shine mode. Tap into where your heart is. If you could see me right now, Heather, I'm taking my finger and saying, the first thing we do is work. I'm going to help you work from going from your head to your heart because people know when you're speaking from your heart. And when you're speaking from your heart, your light shines.
Yes.
And no one can dim it. And I'm getting goosebumps as I say that.
I get the tingles up the back of my neck too. That's when I know I'm like, ooh, that's something big.
Look at us. We're like, woo!
Oh my gosh, I love this. And because so much of what people are doing in the corporate world or entrepreneurs or small business owners is having to speak their message and talk to people, whether that's through if you're doing online programs or if you are speaking at an event. So I love hearing this kind of insight into someone that, that you've been doing this for so long. But I also think it's important to let people know that you weren't always doing this. Like you started as a cruise director in Tahiti. So let's take it back. Let's take it back a little, Julie from the Love Boat.
I love it.
Tell us a little bit about the early days and how you got started and how you got into this.
Oh boy, is this fun. And the reason is because that's another story not everybody knows. And, it's crazy, but I want everybody, and Heather, you're big on tapping into your purpose, right? And your passions. I believe that we get butterflies on our shoulders the minute we're children in this world. And, I never blame the world for crushing those butterflies. Yes, we go in through situations and all of that aside. I was in third grade. Now, this is going to give you goosebumps. I was in third grade, the little girl sitting in Reading, Pennsylvania, overweight and shy, in our basement every Friday night, because that was the only place we had the TV with only 3 channels, the big brown TVs, and I couldn't wait to watch Love Boat and Fantasy Island.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I remember those well.
Do you remember?
I do. Yeah.
And I'm here to say, watching that show was the highlight of my week. And I started to dream. I had a dream put on my heart. Someday I was going to be Julie. I just always knew I wanted to be Julie. And here's the fat, shy little girl in a basement on a Friday night, right? Watching this. So I want you to know that I never lost sight of that dream, but I did let society and life and everything put their shooting on me, as we call it, like stop shooting on everybody. And that's SHOULD, by the way. Fast forward to college, and I thought I was going to be go into law school, or I thought that's what I was supposed to do. So I'm in pre-law, and I hate it, absolutely hate it. And I call my beloved, darling Persian father, and I say I'm going to drop out of college because I want to travel the world. I just wanted to go be a cruise director. And all he said, Heather, in his dead silence was, on my dead body, will you quit? You just figure it out and finish that degree. So at that point, this is going to date me, this is before there was anything like restaurant and hotel management. Now colleges all over and universities have that. So Heather, you're going to crack up. You don't even know this. I went to the Career Planning Center at Kansas State University, and I said, so how can I become a cruise director? What can I do to go travel? And they just looked at me and laughed. And they said, we don't have curriculums like that. And I'm like, well, where can I finish my degree? And they go, well, and the guy looks at me and he goes, the closest thing we got here, I can send you over to that department, is physical education, dance, and leisure studies.
Oh my goodness.
So I go marching in there. They still have no hope for me. So you know what I did? And I want everybody to know this. When you want something bad enough, you can do it. I don't believe anything stops us except ourselves. We get in our own way. I went to the library upstairs when they only had microfiche. I pulled out every magazine that was a travel magazine. I sat down and wrote down 40 names of cruise ships and their 1-800 numbers in the classified, in the back pages. I proceeded to go get on the landline at my sorority, and I called 40 cruise ships, and I asked, how do you get hired on a cruise ship? Do you ever do internships? Da-da-da-da.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
Yes, you don't even know this.
I never heard this part. Yeah, this is such initiative. I love this. Okay, go on.
And it's aligned with what you help people do, right? Stop waiting for people to tap you. Start going out there and get your message out there. So this was the best lesson I ever learned. And you'll understand where this ties to my mantra in my life. It truly was. I broke the rules, Heather. I'm a rule breaker, I guess, but not in a bad way. I ended up picking 19 of the 40 cruise lines. I did hot pink cover letters, hot pink resumes, and hot pink envelopes. I chose not to send a picture because I was like, I don't want them to hire me or not hire me because of my picture. But needless to say, and I always tell people, especially the youth when I'm speaking, never lie on your resume, because I was getting my minor in French. And that was actually huge for me. And then I made appointments with 3 travel agents locally and just said, would you give me 10 minutes? I'd like to ask you if you have any tips on how to do it. Every single one of them basically told me, get your head out of the clouds. There's a 10-year waiting list. You have to speak 6 different languages. I heard every reason. Even my family said, honey, go get a real job. Not one person in my life said, this is fabulous, go for it. And I don't blame anybody, because actually it became my mantra. Tell me no and watch me go. I truly,
I love that, yeah.
The more I was told no, the more fuel I had that it was like, watch me, I'm going to go do this. So I mailed off 19. Within 2 weeks, my phone rang twice. Both times I answered the phone and they were speaking in French. Because I put getting my minor. Heather, I can honestly tell you, 2 months later, I was being flown in May to Papeete, Tahiti, to be the social hostess and sports director aboard the SS Liberté.
Oh my gosh. This is amazing. Yes, I mean, that is like so you. I love this story because, it's just, you took the initiative, you jumped in, you followed your heart. I mean, I think Joseph Campbell's quote, follow your bliss, is one of my favorite. And I just feel like you are the walking embodiment of that quotation, where it's like, yeah, like nothing stops you. And if you don't have the answer, or someone's telling you no, like you're going to figure it out and go around 12 different ways until you accomplish that goal. Such a great example for people listening to just not give up. Don't listen to the naysayers, don't listen to the negative voices in your head. And oh my gosh, so this is amazing. Okay, so you got there and you became Julie of the Love Boat.
Oh, and you know what? I got to tell you something funny. You'll love this. So I get off a plane, right? And I'm coming from Kansas. There's all these people. The man that hired me, his name was Kirby Day. I'll never forget. Wonderful man. Stayed in touch with him for years. I get off the plane and there's this whole group of people standing around him, and they're staring at me as I get off the plane and walk towards, and I knew he was waiting and waving. And they all just look at me, Heather, and they're like staring at me and looking up and down. And I'm like, I give him a hug, I thank him. And I'm like, why is everybody looking at me so weird? And he goes, well, to be honest with you, they all thought you'd look like Dorothy and that you'd be dressed like her too, from Kansas.
With Toto, your little dog.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? I got to tell the Shine insiders this, because you'll love this. I asked him, I go, why me? How did I get this? And he goes, I want to show you something. He took me into his office and he showed me 2 box loads of resumes and cover letters sitting on the floor. Then he opened up 2 giant file cabinets and said, here's all the applicants we've received just in the last year. And he goes, no one did what you did. And I figured if a girl from Kansas was bold enough to send a hot pink resume in a hot pink envelope, right? And a hot pink cover letter, he goes,
yes,
she would be bold enough to fly halfway across the world at 18 years old and be able to do this.
Wow. Oh, I love this. Sometimes it does just take tapping into your own creativity and doing something different than everyone else is doing, and do it in a way that, shows how you are unique and brings out your special talents and gifts, and you are a creative person. And we had a recent guest, Heather Monahan, who she was so intent on getting on the Steve Harvey show, she sent a giant cardboard cutout of herself to the producer. And I thought, that is just brilliant. Like, I've done a million different PR stunts, but that was one I had not thought of or heard of. But it doesn't have to be that, bold. I mean, just doing a different color piece of paper, an envelope. You stood out. I mean, imagine that probably was the one thing that popped out in that entire filing cabinet.
It was. And it was just so funny to think that, like, everybody tells you remember those days, oh, do a cover letter and a resume on linen cream.
Yes, paper. It had to be like very specific paper, linen cream. Yes, I remember that.
Yes. And my love, because we've become such good friends and so much of my past, I don't want people to think that my life has been this, oh, wow, she's had this easy, amazing life, right? Like, and now she speaks all over the world. This mantra has helped me, along with my faith, that some days were very much tested. But through the really darkest times, and there's been several, we all have our stuff, it gave me fuel, Heather, that during the worst of times, I knew that down deep inside I could get through something, and that no matter what, even though that was a fun hurdle to get through, it gave me the resilience, and it gave Holly the confidence, and I didn't have a lot of confidence, to be able to say, if I want it bad enough, I can do it. And if I'm going to get out of this really bad situation, I can do this. I can pull it together, right? I lost everything at one point in my life, and I know what it's like to feel like you have a black cloud over your head and thinking everybody's looking at you like you're a loser. And at the end of the day, I just had that grit. And I am so grateful for what I now call the gifts that just happened to look like challenges in my life. They were just gifts I hadn't opened yet. So, and you and I are both believers in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for, people listening that maybe they're not in a great place right now, they're trying to make their businesses work, or they're going through a divorce, or they're struggling with something in their life, like, what is it that you tell people? I mean, obviously, all of the things you're telling us today are wonderful and great, but like specifically to someone that's maybe in that place where they just can't see, the light at the end of the tunnel, like, what would you say to them?
You know what's crazy? Right as you said that question, I've had my eyes closed through most of this because I told you that's how I stay fully present. I had opened up my eyes and I have propped up on my computer right in front of your beautiful face that's shining through to me on Zoom. I have a beautiful waterfall quote that says, to transform your life, all you have to do is want to change if you really want to. And this is powerful because you just asked me that. And I think for anybody out there right now, you're questioning, is this really what you're supposed to be doing? You're facing so many hurdles, wondering, maybe it's your personal life, your professional life. I just want you to know you're not alone. There's always someone out there that's been there, if not in a worse place than you. And that is why I'm willing to share everything and anything. Because if you're one person that can get hope, I also want you to do yourself a favor. 2 things. And Heather, I'm glad you asked me this because I had to let go of a lot of toxic people and emotional vampires in my life. People mean well, but I want you, if you're really, really following your soul's highest calling, you've got to spend some serious time alone. Silence is nectar for the soul. And when you can let go of the noise of the world, and people mean well, not all people are toxic, but I've had to do this myself. And you know this, Heather. I've had to say, I need everybody to stop telling me what I should do with my business. I've always listened to my spirit and my heart. And people mean well, but they want to give you all these ideas. And I think that sometimes when we're in our darkest times, it's because everybody's telling us what we should do and we don't even know what we want to do.
Right.
Right? So it's kind of like give yourself permission to pause and take an intermission to rekindle your mission. And I truly mean this from the bottom of my heart. Whenever I get into that I call it my clogged up mode, when I'm feeling clogged up again, I know exactly where to go. I spend complete and total time alone. And really, really ask yourself the questions and then listen for the answers. The wisdom is within you. It's not in some book outside of you.
Such a great point. I couldn't agree more. And I was just talking to another client this week, and it was hard for her because she was getting a lot of input on her career that was not positive. And you should do this, you should do that, as you talk about the shooting on people.
Yeah.
And, I said, let's just stop. She was listening to podcasts that reinforced all of these ideas and the statistics that reinforced all of these things. And I said, let's just stop taking in all of that information. Let's do an information detox and just shut all of that out, because that's someone else's story. And you don't need to buy into someone else's story. You need to create the life you want, the reality you want. And it's just, it's powerful stuff. So meditating or just being quiet, like you said, just taking the time, taking a walk in nature. I mean, I feel like that is really where the brilliance strikes, the creative answers come, and it is just about getting quiet and listening and knowing that we do have all of those answers inside of us.
Oh, I can't believe you just had a client that was struggling with this. Can you please tell them that 100%, like I'm backing everything you said, because I mean, truly, we've all been there, right? We all know once you know what it feels like to be amidst the noise or the hamster wheel of everything happening around you, and then you separate yourself and you truly experience what it feels like to truly be in that place of being alone and taking the time. It's hard work, gang. I know we talk about being mindful. I mean, I'm talking about it with leaders all the time anymore. It is not an easy thing to be present and be mindful, but when you begin to put the practice into place, it's so powerful, Heather. It's addictive. Because you realize what you gain from that you start scheduling it and you make sure it's a priority. It is something, the most precious, cherished, sacred time of my day is my mornings. Nobody gets it, not even my husband. And no matter where I am in the world, that is the most important ritual of my day.
That's powerful stuff. Oh, I love it.
Well, I love you. I just love you.
I love you too.
There.
I know we're having a love fest, everybody.
I know we are.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's just been so wonderful to dig into, your philosophies and the secrets that you do have for having this wonderful energy and light that you put out into the world. And do you have any other things that you want to share with our listeners today? Do you have anything that they can get more of Holly?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to do something. I'm going to do 2 things, because this is just because I adore you And I know the people you work with and your listeners have the same admiration and respect for you. So for anybody that listens to this show, go to my website and put in celebration under free gift. Just put in the word celebration and you will be generated a free gift. It will also prompt you to get a very special discount on my book. That's the first thing I'm offering. And unbeknownst to you, Heather, I am going to do something. And here's what I'd love. They have to reach out to you if you don't mind,
Sure.
okay? Because I want to know that they listen to the show, okay? Because this is, well, and it's really important. I don't want this to be a public offering, if you know what I mean. But because I am really passionate about helping people truly take their message, this is different than the messaging that Heather does. Like we could collaborate because what you do is very different than what I do. I'm helping you take it to bigger platforms, get it on stages and build a business, right? On speaking. So if you have anybody that listens to this show, they are going to get 25% off of my Elite Special program that's getting ready to be launched because it's not even publicly launched yet. So that is for your people only.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Oh, that is so generous. Thank you so much for offering that. So I guess for everyone to know, so the first gift you can go to hollydowling.com. That's HOLLYDOWLING.com. And if you want to take advantage of her offer to get her program at 25% off, go ahead and drop me an email and I'll connect you with Holly.
Yes.
So I'm at heather@prstars.net. That's heather@prstars.net. So, oh my gosh, this has been so amazing. And I just really appreciate your time. And, your heart is just so awesome and warm and open. And do you have any last thoughts for our listeners today?
Yes, I just want to say, always be in a place of gratitude. Be grateful for the amazing people that come into your life. Don't ever forget a moment to let somebody know how much they mean to you. So I say that with love, Heather, because I love you, I appreciate you, and you're going to be on my show. That recording, we are interviewing in a couple weeks, so I want everybody to know Heather will be a guest on the celebration of you. And please just today, when you get done listening to this segment, take a moment and pause and think about somebody that really means something to you and let them know. Write them a card or send them an email. And maybe it's somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. It's the greatest gift we can give, is give without remembering, receive without forgetting.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. And I can't wait to be on your show as well. This is so exciting. And let's stay in touch. And hopefully we can have you back on the show again soon. And we'll hear even more of the amazing things that are happening in your world. And everyone, thanks so much for listening today. And go check out Holly on her website at hollydowling.com. And have an amazing day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today for the Shine Strategy Podcast. I invite you to join me at shineinsiders.com for a free masterclass where you can get more inspiration and strategies to get visible and change the world. Your voice matters. Please subscribe, rate, and share this show so we can continue to grow on this journey together. Until the next one, it's Heather Burgett, your Shine Strategist, signing off.